This one's not for the babies, I'm afraid, as there's sugar and spice and all things nice in these gingerbread men, including honey. So it's definitely for the over ones. We're gonna sieve in all the dry ingredients first, then add the wet ones before we make them into tiny little edible people. So we've got 350 grams of plain flour. We'll pop that in. Then we also have a tablespoon of ground ginger. This is a nice way to introduce them to quite a few different flavours. And it's a little Christmas treat for them. But you could have them at any time of the year. So there's the flour in there. Then we're going to put in a tablespoon of ground ginger, a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and then the next two are optional. So we've got a quarter of a teaspoon of ground nutmeg and a quarter of a teaspoon of ground cloves. Now, the only reason I'm really putting them in is because they were on offer at the shops and I thought, ooh, that'll taste really nice. But you don't actually have to put those two in, you could just go with cinnamon and ginger. So they're in there now. So, last thing to add in now, into the dry side of it all, is 100 grams of soft brown sugar. And then now it's time for the wet ingredients. So we've got a teaspoon of vanilla paste. And then we've got 100 grams of unsalted cold butter. And I have cubed it up a little bit. And then we've got a whole egg. Pop that in. Try not to get any shell in there, that's always the risk. And then we've got 2 tablespoons of honey. That's why this one's for the over ones. And because there's quite a bit of sugar in there. It's a nice treat for the adults too. Pop this in, and then it'll be time. Then it'll be time to whiz it up. If you've got one of those kitchen machines that does this, the baking ones, then that'd be really handy. Or if you've just got an electric whisk, I have seen some people doing it with the fingers. It's like making it into a breadcrumby sort of style. So pick your own way, but I'm going to use a whisk. For the last bit, I'm going to get my hands dirty. So this is where if you've got, if the babies have got older siblings, this is a way of getting them involved in baking. It feels really nice. So I'm just going to knead this out now. I'll make it into more of a dough sort of consistency. And then we have to chill it. So what I'm going to do, you can put it in the fridge for about an hour, but I'm just going to chuck it in the freezer while we make the icing to decorate them. So this is at a point now where I think we could try and roll it out and make our dough. So we'll just give it a little knead. Right, so now I'm going to roll it out on some baking paper before we put it in the freezer to chill out for a little bit. It's got overexcited in the Christmas excitement. Okay, we'll put it in the freezer. While that's in the freezer, we can make the icing that we can decorate it with. So I haven't got a fancy icer. So I'm just going to use a sandwich bag. It's like a little mini one, but you could use whatever size you like. So I'm going to do 2 tablespoons, and this is, there are no sort of exact measurements with this one. You just got to give it a go and see, make sure it's the right consistency. So I've got the icing sugar in there, and then we're going to add in a little bit of water, but you don't need a lot because you don't want it too runny. So let's see if that's a good sort of consistency. If you put in too much water, you can then add in more icing sugar. So once it is at the right sort of consistency, you just squeeze it all down into the corner. Make sure you seal your top, because I didn't and it spilled out. So squidge it all down, and then when it comes the time to decorate it, then you just cut a little bit out the corner here, and then we can decorate it like a little pen. Right, don't leave it in the freezer too long because it will freeze, so 5 minutes should be fine. So it's just so it's cooled. So now we're just going to roll it out so it's about 1/2 centimetre thick. And you might want to, if yours is quite a sticky dough, you might want to put flour on your rolling pin. So let's get that to about 1/2 centimetre. Hey, this would be good for the kids, they could do a bit of measurement. Every day is a learning day. Right, so now we're going to cut it into the shapes. So you could do, like the classic gingerbread men, you can have the whole family, so all the different sizes, everyone in the family. But you don't just have to have these at Christmas, you could have them whenever you like. So you could do all sorts of shapes. You could give it to the love of your life with a little love heart there. You could just make it into biscuits, so little circles, and give it to the teachers, say at the end of the year. So we're going to do a few different variations. So we'll go for a classic gingerbread man. We'll push that in, give it a little wiggle. Oh. Right, then pop that onto the baking tray. And if you want to make these into an edible Christmas decoration, then you just take a straw and pop a hole in the top of the head, and it takes out the top bit there. So we'll do that on a couple of them, because these should keep for quite a while, to be honest. If you keep them in an airtight container, they'll last for ages, but if you have them on the tree, they'll last for a few days, and they're safe to have around the little ones. Then we're going to pop this in the oven at our good old favourite temperature, 180, for 8 to 10 minutes. But because I've done different sized gingerbread shapes, I'm going to have to keep an eye on them and take out the little ones when they're ready. But if you just did one standard size, then they'd all be ready at the same time. But it's about 8 to 10 minutes. While they've been on the cooling rack, I've mixed up some more icing, but this time I've added some food colouring to them. So it's time to get a little creative. So I'm going to do this person here. Some nice yellow hair. You can personalise them to look like the person you're giving it to. Get all the hair in there. And then this one, I think they're going to be wearing a Christmas jumper. All that down. I've cut a tiny little hole in the end, so it makes it easier to pipe out. There we go. You can have snowflakes, you can have little patterns, and you can even add little raisins as buttons. And now it's time for the Wheaties taste test.